What is up everyone, it's the Munch and welcome to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet discussion video where today we're going to be talking about the possibility of a new type in Generation 9. It feels like right now the 18 existing Pokemon types are solidly established and there's no room to add any more, but it also felt like that before Fairy type was introduced, and heck, even going back to Gen 2 when Dark type was introduced, I'm sure some fans felt that way too. Oh, and Steel type wasn't even a thing until Gen 2 either. But there was a huge gap between those being added and then Fairy type all the way in Generation 6, so I definitely think that in the future we could see another one or two more types being added into the games. Now in the first trailer for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, we got a glimpse of this circle of all the Pokemon types that we already know and love. But what if they're hiding that left side because there is in fact a new type? Of course, most likely it's just the 18 types we know and love, but the whole point of this video is to speculate on if there is a 19th new type in the game. So if you guys are curious what I think the new type might be, if it happens that is, make sure to leave a like, and let's get started with the ever popular Sound type. Now this is the one I've seen most people speculate about. After Fairy types were introduced, Sound was the second most popular fan type to be added. And it might be the one that makes the most sense because there's already a lot of Pokemon that could fit this category. Some notable examples being X-Cloud and its evolutions, Prickatoon who plays itself like a banjo, and other music-themed Pokemon could also fit a Sound type, Noibat and Noivern who've got big ears that produce supersonic sounds, and Toxtricity just came to mind. Even Rillaboom with its big drums could be like a grass and sound type. And of course Chatot, who literally has a move called Chatter, like it's basically a sound type attack. And speaking of moves, there's a whole bunch of other sound-based moves like Synchronoise, Boom Burst, not to mention the ability Soundproof, which sounds like there would be a sound type in the game already, but it's just for sound-based moves. In terms of type effectiveness, like what it's weak and strong against, I think for sure it would be super effective against water since sound travels more easily through water and can definitely disrupt the stillness of it and create ripples and discomfort if the sound is powerful enough for like a water type Pokemon. On the other side of the coin, it could be not very effective against rock and steel types that could kind of block out the sound like concrete. And of course it'd be not very effective against other sound types because they would be more resistant to the power of the loud sounds or whatever. Can't really think of what would be super effective against sound types though. I guess something like Psychic, getting into the mind, or fighting types just using brute force to beat them senseless, I don't know. Online, people seem to have completely different opinions on what it should resist and be super effective against. At the end, it's like, science doesn't always explain why something's super effective against another, because if that was the case, then ice types would definitely be super effective against water. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other examples I'm not really thinking of right now. But will it actually happen? I'm a bit skeptical because in the past, when there's been like a fan theory or even fan art that's been super popular like Mega Flygon, Game Freak seems to shy away from that idea. There was an interview with Sugimori-san who admitted there were plans to make a Mega Flygon, but they were unable to complete a design and so it was dropped from consideration. I don't know man, there's plenty of inspiration here on the internet, which makes me think that maybe that's the real reason they didn't end up going with Mega Flygon, is there was just already so much fan art of it, they couldn't come up with an original concept for it. So because there's already so many fan theories about the sound type, and more likely because sound-based moves already exist, I think the chances of the sound type becoming a thing aren't looking very likely. In a similar boat, we've got the idea of light type Pokemon. I remember this being really popular, especially before the Fairy type was introduced as a sort of counter to Dark type Pokemon, even though Dark type has been described more like evil or dirty fighting, so it's more of a counter to fighting types than, well, I guess fairies are a counter to dark. It's funny I just said that, and then we have this theory on sound and light type in X and Y. Xerneas, of course, ended up being a fairy type, and Yveltal, I don't know how exactly that was going to be a sound type ever, but one big reason I don't like light type as a concept as much as sound type, for example, is the similarity to electric type Pokemon. Like if I was to name what Pokemon could potentially turn into light type, a lot of them would be electric, like Ampharos and Helioptile. They feel more closely related to light than electricity necessarily, but it's just a little too similar. In its ultimate form, Necrozma literally becomes engulfed in light. And if you're telling me this doesn't look like it would be the first light type, or at least dragon and light type, then I don't know what to say. Like, that's as close to a light type Pokemon as we're ever gonna get. There's even an ability called Illuminate in Pokemon, which a lot of the Pokemon here could also become light type. Lantern is a really good example, actually, being those creepy fish that hang out at the bottom of the ocean with the light to lure in prey. Not sure why Watchog learns that ability. What the frick, dude? Did anyone know Watchog can do this? And finally, there's Volbeat and Illumise, which are right now just pure bug types, I believe. They're not even bug electric, so they would definitely become bug and light type. They're both fireflies. Wait a minute. That's not the Volbeat I'm thinking of. Something interesting I think could be done with light type is rather than making it have traditional type effectiveness and weaknesses, because light essentially reflects into all other colors or types, Pokemon that are of the light type would be super effective against everything, but also weak to everything. How OP or how weak that would be in the competitive battling scene, I have no idea. I'm not a competitive battler, so maybe that would completely break the game, but I just think it would be an interesting twist on a Pokemon type, as light would be like the ultimate type. Moving on, we got our first oddball pick for a new Pokemon type, but out of the weirdo bunch, this is definitely the one I have the most hope for, and that is the fungal type, or fungus, fungi, whatever one sounds coolest. Basically, we're talking about mushroom Pokemon. And I know immediately you're thinking that is ridiculous. They would never make mushrooms its own type, but if you think about it, bug type is its own category, and bugs have their own separate classification within the animal kingdom, which got me thinking about the greater classification of living things in different kingdoms. Did you know mushrooms are an entirely different category than plants and animals? That got me thinking about just how many mushroom Pokemon there are in the games now, and how almost all of them are classified as grass types, despite the fact that plants and fungus are different classifications. Just off the top of my head, I can think of Gloom and Vileplume. Even Venusaur kind of has a big mushroom on its back. More recently, we had Shiinotic, which could be like a mushroom and fairy type. And of course, my favorite Pokemon of them all, Among Us! How the frick do you exist, man? I don't get it. Moves like Stun Spore, Sleep Powder, even Poison Powder could fit more as mushroom type than whatever the heck they are now. Infestation, which I think is a bug move right now, but it sounds more like mold than something that bugs would do. Like, basically mushroom types would take you out slowly with status ailments or attacks that whittle your HP down little by little, and because of this, maybe they'd be more on the tankier side so they can take hits while watching you slowly eat away, rotting back into the ground. I got kind of morbid for a second, but that's what I learned from that Netflix documentary, dude. Apparently, mushrooms break down everything that dies and brings the nutrients back to Earth. Without mushrooms, we basically wouldn't be here, so Pokemon needs to give them the importance they deserve. Now, if that got a little bit wild for you, just wait until this next type I'm about to talk about. One that I think is maybe the most fitting for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet thematically. I am, of course, talking about Time. Time doesn't really sound like a type, so let's go with Temporal Type instead. The reason I say it's most fitting to Scarlet and Violet is of course due to the themes of the games, the past and the future, as shown by the two new professors and the two new legendary lizards, Koraidon and Miraidon. After the latest Scarlet and Violet trailer, we got a lot more information for the new Pokemon revealed, including the types of all of these, except for the legendary Pokemon, Koraidon and Miraidon. Nowhere on the website or any official information can you find what types they're going to be. And I can't help but think that maybe they're hiding them for a reason. Could Game Freak be waiting for the big reveal of Temporal Type Pokemon? Probably not, but it's fun to speculate on these things, so let's imagine what other Pokemon could fit this temporal typing. The most obvious example is the Pokemon of Time itself, Dialga, who's literally known as the Temporal Pokemon, and his signature move is the Roar of Time. Much like with Koraidon and Miraidon, what if Dialga was never actually a dragon at all, and instead just some weird, timey-wimey creature that's actually a Steel and Time type? To be honest, that's like the only Pokemon that's like super obviously related to time, and the others are a little more complicated to come up with. But other Steel types like Magnemite could maybe fit in as Pokemon that maybe come from the future or only exist in the present, like they weren't around way back in the day. Which reminds me of the space-time distortions that would sometimes appear in Hisui. And within these, you could find Pokemon not found anywhere else in the region, like Magnemite, which I just mentioned, and Porygon, another artificial man-made Pokemon that is of the future. Yeah, coming up with time-type Pokemon is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Since we're talking about these man-made Pokemon, that's another mini-type that could potentially exist. I don't think artificial sounds like a Pokemon type though, or man-made for that matter, so if you could come up with a better name for basically Pokemon based on objects instead of natural creatures, or Pokemon that can only exist due to their interaction with humans. I feel that could be its own category with Pokemon like Voltorb, Magnemite, Porygon that I mentioned, plus newer ones like Vanillite, Klefki, Klinklang. Every Pokemon that makes you think they need to stop making new Pokemon. This is ridiculous. Perhaps even more than a new type, people always seem to want new evolutions, but the last one we got was Sylveon, which was a fairy type, of course, the new type for that generation. So it kind of feels like the only way we'll get more evolutions is if they add more new types. Here's a pretty sick concept for a time-based evolution called Dominion. I don't know why that's the name. It reminds me of Dominoes, like the game you topple them over. Come on, just give us a dragon type Eevee already. That's what everyone's been begging for, especially after they made a fairy type one. Like, Sword and Shield was the perfect region to do it, but we didn't get it, so maybe Scarlet Violet. Now I've got one more potential new type for you, and I promise it's not going to be as silly as the last few. Rounding out this video, we've got the Cosmic Type, also known as the Alien Type, or Pokemon from Space. They've been mentioned in the games from the very beginning, with Clefairy apparently coming from the moon and evolving with the use of a moonstone. I don't think that means all Pokemon that evolve by moonstone come from the moon, but Clefairy was specifically said to be an alien, I'm pretty sure. The number one Pokemon that always comes to my mind when I think of outer space is Deoxys. Its Pokedex entries claim that it is a Pokemon mutated from an extraterrestrial virus exposed to a laser beam? Bro, I thought it was just from another planet or something. It's a freaking virus? Either way, definitely a Cosmic type, and maybe Rayquaza would fit up there with it too, as they've always been closely rivaled with one another, culminating with the Delta episode where you ride on the back of Rayquaza into the stratosphere, or even higher. Again, science is not my strong suit, but while we're up here, you might spot some meteors flying by. That's right, it's Minior, definitely a rockin' Cosmic type right there, and maybe not the only one, because we've also got Solrock and Lunatone, which right now are both Psychic type, I believe, Rock and Psychic. Let's go ahead and just scratch all that. There's a whole Bulbapedia article on extraterrestrial Pokemon with, of course, Deoxys and some of the ones I mentioned on here. Oh, Elgyem. How could I forget Elgyem? It's literally a gray alien. And then, of course, there's the Ultra Beasts, which aren't exactly from our own Earth's outer space, but they do come from other worlds or other dimensions, so maybe they could be the Cosmic type? Not really. I feel like if they were gonna do that, then they would have introduced Cosmic type back in Sun and Moon and used the Ultra Beast to introduce this whole new typing, like it's Pokemon from outer space. And all the Ultra Beasts would have been at least half Cosmic, and maybe even other Ultra Beasts could have been introduced in later generations that are half Cosmic type. So it'd be like the rarest type of Pokemon, exclusively for Ultra Beast and very few legendaries, and even fewer Pokemon actually from Earth, like the ones I mentioned. There's even some moves that fit this type already, like Gravity, Cosmic Power, literally has Cosmic in the name, Moonblast. Sounds more like it'd be a Cosmic type than Fairy move to me. And with so little of them existing, it could actually be the most OP type, similar to how Dragon was before Fairies were introduced, being resistant to things that wouldn't really affect you living in space, like hot, cold, dark, and light, but weak to earthly illnesses represented by poison. And that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know which of these types you think is most likely to end up happening in a future Pokemon game, or if you think they're all freaking dumb ideas that will never happen, then you can leave that in the comments too. That's fine, you know, freedom of speech. As you can see, I'm still slowly working on building the new office here in Puerto Rico, but hey, at least I've got a chair now, got the old microphone and my computer at least set up, so things are slowly but surely getting back to normal, and I'm really excited to get back to uploading regularly. So recently I did a poll on my community tab asking you guys what type of content you would like to see most from my channel, and to no one's surprise, you guys want more playthroughs, and I'm gonna give you more playthroughs. So starting next week, I'm getting the new playthrough together. I'm really excited for it, and that's all I'm gonna say because I don't want to spoil anything. So you'll have to stay tuned for that to begin. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching. Smash that like button if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.